Hey everyone, welcome to what promises to be, at least on paper, another lively Zinni 62 Live, starting a little late because we had a rousing Sunday night football game, the Atlanta Falcons 7, the New England Patriots 23, and it was a horrible game that really calls into question the ability of the Falcons to produce a winning record this year, but that's another story. I'm going to start by welcoming everybody. Hey, Jamal Mills, and then going in to the live stream area. And making sure I put this on mute, and then tweeting everything out, and making this announcement. First of all, I want to say this on the outset, all right? Welcome, and I'm writing this, welcome. But there is a problem with a number of people who don't understand the development process, and let alone the role of something called a groundbreaking in it. But beyond that, and because of that, there is an idea that a groundbreaking automatically ensures that a stadium will be built. It's very important to get this out in the open because, as a discussion, because what we have today that's plaguing the efficient explanation of a process or a professional procedure is social media. And what you have are people who want something to happen on one end. And so they will twist the news in order to fit their desires. They always use terms like hope, faith, belief. Watch that, hope, faith, belief. Even in my case, they say, you give us hope. I'm not here to give anyone hope. I'm here to explain to you precisely what's wrong and what's right with the deal. Anyone who has, I'm talking about the Raiders deal, with respect to trying to build a stadium in Las Vegas. Hey, Barry Lee. Hey, everybody. Hey, Jamal Mills. I'm here to do that, and among other things. But it's vitally important to have a voice that has experience in economic development because others don't, particularly at the Las Vegas Review-Journal, which has done a terrible job of reporting accurate information about this project. And the Las Vegas Sun obviously doesn't have as many resources, or as much in terms of resources, to give to coverage of the Raider deal. So you only see articles here and there. Note, the Las Vegas Review-Journal wrote nothing about a groundbreaking, and it had nothing to do with the validity of the information, more their inability to pay a reporter. So what you get is an organization in Las Vegas Review-Journal that has its own, we all have our own agendas. I have my own agenda. You know what my agenda is. But the Las Vegas Review-Journal does not state its agenda, and yet if I were to interview one of its reporters, like for example, my friend Ed Graney, he cannot talk about Sheldon Adelson. He will get fired, all right? So he can't criticize him. And so that's at the tip of the iceberg of a number of actions the Review-Journal has taken to, in effect, fix the news a certain way. I'm just being honest. That has happened since Mr. Adelson purchased the publication. So, but in the specific case of this groundbreaking news, note, I never once said there would not be a groundbreaking. That's not the point. And I'm reminding everybody of that, okay? My point is this, and I'm going to say this again. It's the way the information about this moment that's supposedly to come was put out there. If you are the developer of the project, let me put it in the ways that I think people will understand, at least I hope so. If you're throwing a party for a friend, but you're not sure of the date, and you're going to invite about 200 people, which is a lot of people, all right? but you're banding it back around a date. And there's some uncertainties as to whether or not the event's going to even happen for a number of different reasons. But there are other people you're associated with who are involved in the planning of the party who want it to happen. And so there was one particular date you all were you maybe 70% certain of, right? And then all of a sudden, one of your associates involved in planning the party puts it out on a blog post of which all of you are emailed that, hey, this party is going to occur at this date. So you're stuck, right? And all of a sudden, oh my God. And then someone else reports it and says, okay, it's going to be this date. And you, as the party planner, have two choices. You could either say, no, that's not the date. That's not the date. But then you have to explain what the other date is and find that date. And if that's the date that was the most workable, you say, okay, let's go with that date. And then let's say that the other people involved in planning also spending money. And it may very well be that they won't be involved in it, or they're going to be very upset or not put their money in if you pick another date, okay? But they still went out ahead of it rather than giving you the respect of being the key party planner. That's the position the Raiders were put in when Tommy White jumped the gun. Tommy White is not the developer. He is not the developer. He is the head of Union Local 872 in Las Vegas. He is not the stadium developer. Steve Sisolak, county chair, yes, he generally puts out this news, but he's not the stadium developer. It should come from the Raiders first. And yet it wasn't on the Raider website. So my point is, and I'm going to repeat this again and again and again, it looks like a Keystone Cops routine, okay? It looks like a Keystone Cops routine. And I don't care that anyone doesn't want to hear that. That's the way it looks. I called Jeremy Aguero. He said he didn't have that information. He is the stadium point person. So immediately Tommy White made two people look bad. The Las Vegas Stadium Authority's point person, who should know, who should be first out with the information, and the Oakland Raiders. But here's the problem for the Raiders and for the stadium point person. Tommy White is a key political player in Las Vegas. So you don't want to piss him off and piss off the workers he brings. Because if it's not happening, then suddenly the workers are like, oh my God, what's going on here? Because we need something to believe in. We need a great signal that Vegas is going to continue to come back. I get that. But that does not mean that what Tommy White did was okay to do. It wasn't. He should have waited. He should have checked with the Raiders first, given the Raiders the respect of being the stadium developer to put out the information, so that everything is focused and centralized. That's the way things are done. But how this came about is indicative of the overall problem with this project. Everyone is rushing. They've got their own agendas, which is true for every stadium, effort. But this one has a lot more hairs on it than most. A lot. And among them, the fact that the Raiders still have obligations for payments that they wouldn't have in Oakland to the tune of up to $1.1 billion. And I can go further. So that's my point here. Anybody who just assumes the stadium is going to be built because this groundbreaking occurs, on delivery of that information, immediately shows they don't know what they're talking about with respect to this deal. And if you don't like detail, then don't report it. That goes to people watching who may be connected with Las Vegas Review-Journal or any other organization or publication. Get it straight. If you don't have it straight, admit it. There's been very little of that. Very little of that. So I want to make sure that that's out, and I'm making it absolutely clear where I'm coming from with this. Because there is an effort to not get things right, deliberately in a lot of cases. There's a lot of fake news out there, people saying this, people who claim that they have information they don't have, okay? I always say to you, hey, Rick Rice, how are you? And everybody, I always say to you, I say to anybody else, when in doubt, look at the numbers. When in doubt, look at the numbers for the project. Now I'll also say this to you. The reason why the Oakland Alameda County Joint Powers Authority did not join on with Forever Oakland in its desire to file a lawsuit against the Raiders is because they are in direct negotiations with the Raiders to have them stay through 2022, period. That is the reason. That's the reason. Something else too. So I said I was going to have breaking news. There's the breaking news. Something else too. And this is a subset of that breaking news. Coliseum City is not dead. And Oakland council member and council president Larry Reed told me that when I asked him. Ray Bobbitt was standing there. It is not dead, okay? At all. It is not dead. And so what does that mean? Well, first of all, it means that because of the way the general plan for Coliseum City was done, it can accommodate sports, it can accommodate Amazon, and it can accommodate biotech. It can accommodate all that at once. That was the idea for Coliseum City. Coliseum City in total is about 108 acres. So there's nothing. So it gives a lot of political flexibility for Oakland. But I repeat to you, Coliseum City is still alive. It was never killed. It's out there, and that comes from Councilmember Larry Reed, which means they have enough development stuff, development land, development plans, development approvals to negotiate with the Raiders if they want to. Something else I need to add when I say this, okay? You would have to be a stupid idiot to think the Oakland Raiders are going to go out and announce that they're right now going to stay in Oakland while they are negotiating and while they have all these relationships they've worked to build in Las Vegas. They're not doing that. The Raiders are hedging their bets. The problem with the Raider way of doing business is that it comes off looking like you can't trust them, and it comes off looking like an issue with good faith negotiations, okay? That style works for the Raiders, and it also works against the Raiders. That is what you're dealing with. And meanwhile, you have people who very simply want a definitive answer one way or the other. You're not going to get a definitive answer one way or the other with the Oakland Raiders. It is not how they work. It is simply not how they work. Okay? You're not going to get that. So I say to those people who are absolutely convinced that this groundbreaking is going to be more than that. First of all, you know what? You can do a groundbreaking in your front yard. You can take, seriously, you can get some hard hats, a shovel, you know what I mean? Set up a tripod and put your camera on it, or your iPhone, or your smartphone. Put on a suit, invite your friends over, have them put on suits and dresses. Get there, have your shovels like that, and then just toss some dirt, and that's it. You've done your groundbreaking. You can put up a fake background, okay, and like you're in Las Vegas or in London or out of Cucamonga or Oakland or whatever, and make it look like you're breaking ground for a structure. That's all a groundbreaking is. I've been to elaborate groundbreakings, like for example, the one for the Great Oakland Global Project, which is a really serious groundbreaking. You don't want to know a serious groundbreaking? A serious groundbreaking is when you have the governor of California there. You have senators, congresspersons, a huge number of officials. That's when you know it's on. When you have that, and you have it coming from the developer that all these folks are going to be there, and not this guessing around, then you know it's serious. Is Governor Sandoval going to be at the groundbreaking? No one knows. Did Governor Sandoval put out a tweet saying, yes, I'm going to be at the groundbreaking? What about the mayor of Las Vegas? Is she going to be at the groundbreaking? What about the senators and Congress people who represent the Nevada legislature, let alone who represent Nevada nationally? Where are they? If you're going to have a groundbreaking of this magnitude, first of all, I would hope that they were thinking of it as something of that magnitude, because if they're not, and it's done in haste, it's going to make everybody look bad. Indeed, it's already making everybody look bad. And organizations like the Review Journal could do everything they can to cover it up, but the truth is it looks like a Keystone frippin' cops routine. It looks bad. And if you're listening to this and you're on the side of Vegas, but you don't want to hear the truth, you know what? Get used to hearing it. Because if you hear the truth, you can straighten it out. They know it looks bad. I know it looks bad. I've been through this stuff. I've helped organize groundbreakings in the past when I worked for the city of Oakland, okay? I've been to tons of them. I've been to groundbreakings for structures that never got built. It's a groundbreaking. It's a ceremony. That's it. It means there is a desire to do it. It doesn't mean it's going to get done. Don't confuse the two. But even then, just because it's that, don't diminish the message in a way that you put the reputations of elected officials at risk. And I'm talking about in Nevada. Because that is what is threatened here. Who's going to be there? Does the 13th date really work for the governor? Is the governor going to be there? You're going to tell me that Steve Sisolak, the county chair, is more important than the governor of Nevada, who helped move the heaven and earth to get the subsidy through? I mean, come on. So I hope that those of you who were thinking clearly understand what I'm trying to explain. It is right now, it looks like a Keystone cops routine, and there's no other way to describe it. None. And the people involved in it to this point, they really ought to be ashamed of themselves. And then trying to basically say, oh, well, it's going to get done and all this stuff. Look, no one's questioning right now. I'm not questioning whether or not it's going to get done, because I'm certain that the deal has so many problems that doing it is going to be a major impossibility, improbability. I am certain of that. Of that much, I am certain. Okay? So, in fact, the best thing to happen is just to slow down. If you really want this thing done right, slow down. The NFL's already washed its hands of any, comment about it. They're diverting all comment to the Raiders. Now with that, I'll take all your reasonable comments. And one more thing I'm going to do is to make sure that I post this on social media. And Karen Christensen, how are you? Karen asked the question, has anything been done with respect to the community benefits deal? And Karen, I believe it's in the works. And the reason why I say that is because one of my sources that's involved in this, that's usually very responsive, hasn't been. And I've got to believe that this person was probably told to, I'm writing some social media notes here to post this, was probably told to pipe down, which, hey, is a good thing for the effort, because there has been a lot of talking about it. Now, does that automatically point to a completion of this, of the community benefits package? No. Are they way behind on it? Yes. They're equally behind, I would argue even further behind, with respect to the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. That is horrible, to say the least, because they've had over now a year and a half to strike a deal with UNLV. The first one they struck, that was the preliminary proposal that Sheldon Adelson hated, occurred earlier this year. Now UNLV's hired these attorneys that have cost them, I think by one measure, $28,000 and counting. The meter is still ticking. And it's to protect UNLV's interests. And then here's this. You've got May 16th coming. That's the drop dead date for the Raiders. By the way, folks, it's a double shares night for investing. And so you're welcome to invest. Now, here is, I'm going to get to all your comments because I'm sure I missed a number of them. Hello, John Mark, Steve Macy, Barry Lee, Joshua Agee, welcome. Ed Reed, haven't seen you in some time. Silver Maze, welcome back. Who am I missing that I didn't say hi to? Wiggle Babies, how are you? And Kevin KD, how you doing? Richard Lucero, nice to have you here. Crawford, 371, wonderful Sunday to you. And Rick Rice, awesome to have you here. Karen, again, thank you for being here. Love that your presence is felt. And Vito 510, welcome back to the jungle. But anyway, and the Rio Noriega is in the house. And so I'm going way back in these and basically moving forward. And Bruce Sarah says it wasn't a groundbreaking, they're just doing infrastructure prep. And okay. And so the Desmond Davis says, hey, Zenny, how are you? Austin Obriga says, Dirty Bud's stuck. Oh, God, that was awful. And we have Steve Macy who says he's working. Silver Maze says Emerson has been awful. Anybody on practice squad would be better than him, talking about the Raiders. For those of you watching this as video on demand, I have a chat area that you can't see, and I'm responding to the number of people and what chats they're leaving. Moderators, stay sharp, by the way. This is going to be that kind of night, I guarantee it. And Joshua Agee says, can't wait until OB and Conley come back. Yeah. The Real Noriega says, thanks, Zinni. You are absolutely right. Straight up. Groundbreaking, laugh out loud, give me a break, fake news. It's not fake news that a groundbreaking will occur. It will occur. It's the way it was done. I want to emphasize that. It's the way the news got out about this jazz. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. It made everybody look, it made the stadium developer, the Raiders, look bad. And if I'm Mark Bedane, I'm chewing nails. I'm saying, hey, what are you guys doing? Let us take the lead. The Raiders were made to look bad. And it's indicative of a bigger problem. I'm going to get to what I think that problem is in a second. So, Joshua Agee says, first and second round in the draft, inside linebacker and corner. Hey, how do you like Navarro Bowman? Wiggle Baby says, sub Zenny, just got back from the gym. Welcome back. Jorge Hernandez, how you doing? Steve Macy says, the whole stadium has been a complete screw-up. I could not agree more. Joshua Agee says, Thursday night Coliseum was lit. It certainly was, to say the least, and I was one of them. John Mark says, don't the Raiders in Vegas know that I'm going to file a court injunction by the end of the year? John Marks, hurry up. Wiggle Baby says, hey, Zinni, with Major League Baseball going to expand to 32 teams for 5-ish years, do you think they might ditch the NFL for Major League Baseball with the hotel tax stuff? No. Well, the only way that would happen, and that's actually, Wiggle Baby is a very brilliant question, is for the Southern Nevada Tourism and Investment Act to be rewritten, because it calls and is specifically focused on an NFL stadium, not a Major League Baseball stadium. Okay? So they can't just shift it without going to the legislature first. And that opens up a gigantic can of worms, because when you get that bill out there and you've basically opened up the edit doors, in order to get that thing passed, you may very well wind up seeing all kinds of adjustments poured in that you may not want. Okay? Remember, the legislature was able to get this, well, Sheldon Adelson was able to pass this through a perfect storm of money and political combination in terms of Republicans being the majority in both the Assembly and the Senate in Nevada. That's not the case now. And Michael Robinson, who's the senator, is leading an effort, or at least he's supporting an effort, to recall 3 Democratic senators because he claims they are basically not pro-business. Now, if he wins that, if that happens, if that's effective, and really it's not effective, it would definitely shift the balance. But the way it looks right now, and the way the political polling tea leaves are going in Nevada right now, don't bet on a return to Republican control come next election cycle. It's not happening. All that impacts the Las Vegas Stadium Authority and the Southern Nevada Tourism Infrastructure Act, the bill, all right? So the only way Major League Baseball could come to focus is if the bill is edited, and I don't see that happening. So now, Silver May says, Borman played really well. He says what the defense rarely does. Yep. And they're talking about Navarro Bowman, excuse me. Steve May says, question is, do they care? Good question. Vito says, I think the Raiders might be scared to move. I would be very frightened to sign a non-relocation agreement. I would be very frightened to basically, and I'm going to say this, stick my head in that figurative noose of a deal, because they could very well hang on it. I mean, financially hang on it. That is the specter that looms before the Raiders for a host of reasons. Not just the $1.1 billion in overage costs above the $1.9 billion estimated for the stadium expense of building it, but also two newly developing factors. One of them you know about in the tragedy called 1 October, the tearfully bad tragedy that has, you have to cry. You know, it's tearfully bad. But what it equals is the very real outcome that Nevada and Las Vegas will, and Reno, much less though. I don't see Reno being affected, but Reno already has its problem in terms of reduced flow of people going to those cities to gamble. And I don't mean conventioneers. I mean the casual traveler, okay? And that is very real. In the case of the Paris attacks, France lost, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, $843 million in tourism revenue. Now, if Nevada escapes a fate like that, it will be a miracle. But then there's another problem. The forecasted economic downturn. So those are two problems that they threaten to pull down the number of people that would come to visit Las Vegas, which does what? It pulls down the monthly revenue that the stadium tax would generate, which would then go to fuel the bond issue for the Raiders Stadium, which I might add has not been let yet. That bond issue has not been let. There's no money out there. Anybody that tells you it's out there, obviously, when they say that at this point, reveals they don't know what they're talking about. It has not been done yet, and for a host of reasons. First of all, do you realize the Raiders still own the land, and they haven't even written to turn over the land to the Las Vegas Stadium Authority? Do you realize that Bank of America hasn't even given its loan out for $850 million because the guaranteed maximum price for stadium construction, hasn't even been determined, at this point? That's where we are at. Okay? So, going on with your comments now. Excuse me here. It's I'm going to start with the most recent one and then go back up and see what I missed, just so I don't get too far behind. And Alex Barboza says, why haven't they signed a relocation deal? Are they not sure either? They haven't signed the relocation agreements because, first of all, they don't know, the Raiders don't know what the guaranteed maximum price is going to be. And once they know the guaranteed maximum price, all right, then Bank of America say, okay, we're ready to let the loan to you. And then also, once the guaranteed maximum price is known, the Las Vegas Stadium Authority will say, okay, well, based on that information, we're ready too. But still, the Raiders would have to sign on the dotted line to release those monies. That's the only way that they can continue the process of stadium construction. Right now, the Raiders are reportedly using, their own money. Just how much of it they have expended versus how much they have remaining is not known at this point. I'm trying to work to find that out, but that's the position that they're in. And right now, okay? So, now, Wiggle Babies says, sounds like Oakland needs to start negotiating with Raiders. They have been, Wiggle Babies. Give Mark a great deal with a Coliseum lot since the A's are moving to Lake Merritt. Yeah, that's what's happened. And, you know, Silver Mace says regarding the Raiders that Washington should get more carries. Richard Haig, how are you? Richard, is the producer of a fantastic live stream on the Oakland Athletics for Zenny62. Thank you again, Richard. Richard says, I just went to Tahoe this weekend, stayed on the California side just so Nevada wouldn't get my hotel tax money. I did my part. Actually, it's Clark County, but still he did do his part. Kevin KD said, being frightened about the non-relocation rate was a very reasonable feeling to have about a truly awful deal. Willow Baby says, Zinni, we need you in office. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's very, very kind. And Joshua AG says, what's the news on 2020 extension, Zinni? Well, that's what I'm explaining right now, okay? It's in negotiation. John Marks says he's on the case, and Barry Lee says, John Marks, I guess they're keeping the name, but what's funny is no one here in San Antonio cared that they left. Wow. And so, let's see here. We've got Kevin KD says, I'm good, Zinni. Thanks for asking. Hello to you. And Richard says, hey. Richard Hike says, hey. Barry Lee says, did you hear, Zinni, the WNBA San Antonio Stars are moving this year to Vegas? I heard, and I think that's great for Vegas. Congratulations. That's congratulations. And I think that's huge. And I want to emphasize something. Vegas is a fantastic city. Okay, it is. But that doesn't mean that, because I think Vegas is a fantastic city that is ready to host NFL football economically, and that this deal is a good one just because it's Las Vegas. No, it's not. And again, this deal was structured. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. This deal was structured by and for Sheldon Adelson, who has said through his chief operating officer, Rob Goldstein, that they would cover all operating losses, and cost overruns. The very items, cost stadium expense items, that the Bank of America, in the form of Elliot McCabe, said to the Las Vegas Stadium Authority, Bank of America would not cover. They being Bank of America, the same loan structure that is been let to and used by the Atlanta Falcons for the Mercedes-Benz Dome. So let's just get that out of the way. It's a fixed amount. That's it. Now, I can't answer Karen question's question regarding community benefits. Barry Lee says, look to the future like Trump is impeached, I'm still old, Raiders stay permanently in Oakland, and begin to build a new stadium. There you go. Steve Macy says, they have the land and are going to start working on the cement foundation. Yes, Golden One is amazing. And so, Golden One Center. Golden One Center for, let's type that, Golden One Center. Let's have a little fun with taking a look at Golden One Center. Type that and see what we get. And boom, there's Golden One Center in Sacramento. And it does look amazing. Indoor arena for downtown Sacramento. And wow, they've got a drone cam and everything. And let's see what's going on with Golden One Center in Sacramento. And wow, Andre Routour. Yeah, it's beautiful. Golden One Center is absolutely beautiful with the Pelicans and the Kings, and you can take public tours and all that. Absolutely, absolutely nice place. Now, Joshua Agee says soccer stadium will be on fire. Cooper says, Silver Maze says, Amari Cooper finally showed up, but will he pay well every week? Is the question. And yep, and so Crawford says stay in Oakland. Davis and John Mark says, I remember the 1989 homecoming exhibition game at the Oakland Coliseum versus the Oilers. Shove it, Sacto. All right. Now we're going back to Silver Maze saying Bowman seemed faster than the rest of the Raiders on defense. You know, he really did. And he really covered, not only that, he was leader in tackles. And he read plays so fast that in one situation, he got right smack in the backfield and down that run for a loss. That was in the second quarter. NaVorro Bowman, I believe, is the tonic that will fuel the resurgence of the Raiders. They've got to make up a 3-game deficit. Buffalo's a tough customer to deal with, but I think they're capable of doing it. Rico Baby says they're building that stadium for Major League Expansion Team 2, right? In terms of, now we're talking about in Las Vegas, we're not talking about expansion. Golden One, you're talking about Golden One Center in Sacramento, because that's finished. Now, Gregory Aldridge says Chargers will go to Las Vegas and Raiders will go to LA. We'll see. I mean, James McClendon says, sad to see how Oakland Raider Nation fan base keeps getting disrespected by the Raider organization after our great continued support. I agree. Vito510 says, do you think the NFL owners need seed to Raiders to let them move, knowing the Raiders have no money? I don't believe that is... Now, do I think Jerry Jones may be involved in doing something like that? It's a possibility, but I haven't been able to confirm it. T. Macy says Sacramento's building a soccer stadium. MLS. Oakland should do the same. In fact, having said that, I will also tell you this. Oakland is working on professional soccer at the Coliseum. So there's been an effort called Pro Soccer Oakland it's been around for several years, but over the past 2 years it started to pick up steam. Now, Rico Baby says, are they building that stadium for MLS expansion team too, right? I would believe that they are. And Rick Gray says, NFL will not Raiders go to LA, Gregory? Will not let Raiders go to LA. And never say never with that, but I can't see Stan Kroenke wanting to risk, well, I can't see him sharing the stadium with the Raiders, but I can also see some concern with respect to the Raiders' ability to pay certain costs at this point, given their exposure to, to Las Vegas. If that means that Kroenke would have to cough up the money to help him out, he may not be amenable to doing that. Whereas Dean Spanos was able to engineer his own move and has a bit more, as I was told, monies to work with given his companies than Mr. Davis does given the Raiders. So that's where that is. Now, Steve Macy says we have the Sac Republic and are in line for it to become MLS, just like kind of like Atlanta. And Kevin KD says they made the announcement a month after the Chargers left San Diego in the midst of rumors, that they were regretting the relocation and wanted to go back. Steve Macy says, I agree, Silver, talking about Emerson, Nelson, and Smith should be released. They've been awful. I still say it's, let's see what happens with Bowman. Navarro Bowman is a player coach on the field, and I believe he will spearhead a redesign of the defense to make it more effective. Navarro Bowman to the Raiders is a godsend. Just no other way to describe it. None. No other way to describe it. And John Marks, I do remember the 78 Oakland Stompers. I certainly do. And Silver Maze reminds us there are no Chargers fans in LA. We've noticed. 831 Scott said, did you see the Dolphins field today after the Hurricanes played Saturday? It was in terrible condition. That should be on Mark Davis' mind, considering the Raiders would share the stadium with UNLV. And I think what's on UNLV's mind is their ability to afford to be at that stadium. That doesn't look good at all. For those of you watching, welcome to Zenny 62 Live. We're talking about Las Vegas NFL stadium plans. We're talking about the fiasco of the announcement of the groundbreaking. We're talking about the Coliseum lease. We're talking about NFL news. I'm going to recap what I experienced last week in New York. Had a fantastic visit. Hey, Eric Guerrero, how are you? Oh, by the way, if you want to say something, you want to make sure that your comment is seen, you can buy a super chat as little as $2. It will give you, and I will give you, shares in Zenny 62 Media. It's double share night. And you can either buy a super chat or you can invest here to the PayPal page like so. Whoops, that's not it. This is it. So, oops, that's not it. This is it. Yes, right here. There, that's okay. Now, Superman says the Falcons, I guess, thought it was the Super Bowl. No, they didn't play like it. They were awful. Stevie Booth says Oakland should have a Major League-based soccer team. Yes. Wiggle Babies. But see, I'm wondering if Major League Soccer would allow Bay Area expansion to 2 teams. You have the Earthquakes in San Jose, right? And you have the demographics in Oakland to make it work. Hey, yeah, the demographics in Oakland and the East Bay for a WNBA team. We don't even have that. The Warriors have just sort of sat on that and not made that happen. And no one has forced them to or encouraged them to. Gregory Alderete says they're making the Chargers Qualcomm scheme into Major League Soccer field. Soccer is big. And see, here's the point. If you're wondering what's wrong with the National Football League and you're thinking about where the NFL might be 10 years from now and why it got there, I'm forecasting a continued ratings decline, but for this reason. The NFL has forgotten, if it ever knew, how to reach a truly immigrant audience. I don't know how many people I talked to in San Diego who were from Mideast or Europe or Japan or China. Or as President Trump would say, China, 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 who did not know about the ballot measure, but said if they had known about it, they would have voted to keep the Chargers and give them their stadium deal, right? So that tells me, because these were conversations I bring up in rideshare cars. Hey, what'd you think about Chargers vote to keep them here? I didn't know that was happening. Wow. Because we don't have that standard news element anymore. We have television. But even then, they didn't put it on television. They didn't put it on the Spanish language channel. They didn't put it on the Mandarin language channels. You know what I'm saying? Nothing like that. And the NFL should have a standard procedure reaching to American immigrant audiences every way possible. Websites, apps, radio, television, okay? But they don't have that. So how do you expect a growing immigrant audience to be interested in the National Football League? And here's the even bigger problem. The countries they come from or their parents came from have soccer. And so they have ties to an international soccer player presence where they can say this person represents my country. The NFL doesn't have that. The NBA has that same advantage. Look at, Manu Ginobili and, Kristaps Porzingis, you know what I'm saying. All of these immigrants, right? Not there. So, yeah, so anyways, how about them Yankees? Yikes. Stacy Reese says, Vegas says there's a groundbreaking. Did they cancel it? It's not that they canceled it. It's that it's a Keystone Cops issue. And for the sake of their psyche, I hope they don't cancel the 13th. But if it gets shifted around, it's one more. And again, I'm not saying the groundbreaking won't happen. They will have a groundbreaking. Groundbreakings are easy to do. They're ceremonies, okay? But the way this ceremony plan is being handled right now, I've said it again, I'll say it again, excuse me, is Keystone Cops. Just straight up Keystone Cops. Wiggle Baby says, yes, San Diego put their bid in for the 6th spot in MLS expansion, $200 million in private funds to change Qualcomm to soccer. Which could still hold football. And John Marks wants the Oakland Stompers back. Let me see something here. John Marks. Now, Manfred, according to Wiggle Babies, just the other week, this is what Wiggle Babies reports, just the other week, Commissioner Manfred from Major League Baseball said Portland is on a list for expansion and that the league needs one more Western team. betting Montreal is the East, West is the speculative part. I think that West team is definitely Las Vegas. I really do. Las Vegas is already a destination for baseball, Cactus League type play. Well, yeah. So I would be surprised if Vegas were not that choice. I really would. And the Raiders should be concerned about that, because if you have Major League Baseball sniffing around, and then you've got possibly the NBA sniffing around Vegas, you got the WNBA relocating, what does that equal for the Raiders? It means competition for its dollar, which is already, in the Vegas parlance, on shaky ground, right? So they need to look to this is what the Raiders and Mark Bidet need to do. And I hope he's watching here. Hey, Mark, how you doing if you're watching? What you need to do, Mark, is develop a spreadsheet that basically calculates your market share in that area. And if you design the spreadsheet correctly, or a system dynamics model using Stellar, I think, okay, what you should come out with is, over time, as teams are added, your market share being downwardly impacted by a certain amount. That's how the model should look. In terms of the actual number, that's another story. I don't know what that will be. But I do know that as you add teams, it's downward just by the fact that you have people who may want to spend their dollars on soccer rather than football, pro football, or basketball rather than pro football, if they have a finite amount of money. So that's the specter. And the other problem is that Las Vegas is not yet large enough such that there's enough people to have these giant pockets of fans where you can say, okay, I can make money over here in football, baseball can make money over there, and so on and so on and so on. The San Francisco, Oakland Bay Area, San Jose, Oakland Bay Area is large enough to have those pockets. Vegas, dramatically smaller, is not. Is not. So you could, wind up with all these teams there, but someone's going to lose out. And right now, the way the Raiders deal structure looks, it looks like the loser would be Raiders. I would have to just say that straight out. The economics of the Raiders deal do not work for Vegas. And I'm not saying it's because of Vegas, although I just basically said it's because of Vegas, right? But I'm talking about the way this deal is structured. You would say, Zinni, what do I mean? What do you mean? I'm saying simply that it relies on tourism flow. And tourism flow is already being threatened. Vegas is not big enough to throw off the number of people that Raiders need to make the deal work from a ticket standpoint, from a luxury suite sale standpoint, and so on. Will the casinos come through and buy them all? That's a wish, okay? That's a wish. And which leads to the other question. This gets back to the whole spreadsheet market share study. If you have a finite number of casinos active, Las Vegas Sands, MGM, etc., and you're adding sports teams, what's the amount that they can afford for suites on a per team basis? What's the cost of the suites in terms of packages? Who wins and who loses? You have the Golden Knights performing well. They're small. They're right-sized for the Vegas market. But because they're right-sized for the Vegas market, no one should think that the Raiders are automatically going to work. Not there. All right. So we've got Rick Ray says, I doubt that even Mark Davis is that desperate. He won't get signed by the 13th. And let's see here. We've got, I got that information out of the way. And Rick Gray says, sorry, Steve, when is the groundbreaking? Did it canceled? No, it did not get canceled to my knowledge. Stacy Reese says, Vegas says there's a groundbreaking. Right. No. And so Silver Maze says, there are so many fans of different teams in Vegas, they have to rely on California fans to show up to the games, which is sad. Yeah, it's Stacy Reed says Vegas has more people than Oakland, but Stacy, that is, you know what? Stacy, you're obviously not a regular visitor to my site, so I'm going to be very nice to you and point out something that I want you to see right here, okay? Before I do, I'm going to put this out there, and my other viewers who know where Oakland sits in the Bay Area are probably going to start LOLing right now. Rick Gray says, but Zinni, the Raiders are expecting all Bay Raider season ticket holders to attend all Vegas games. Nation is bigger than Vegas, so they're not counting on Vegas. Yeah, but that's the thing. It's, Rick Gray, I'm glad you brought that up because we talked about this before. And it's the barrier to entry presented by the increase in hotel rooms that's always done when there are big events. CES, the hotel room, a hotel room can go from $30 one night to $300 to $400 the next night. That's common. And there are a number of big events for which, when they are staged, the hotels are tripled in terms of per room night price. Add that to the ticket price, add that to airfare, and next thing you know, someone looking at that saying, gee, can I really pay that? Oh, and then let's not forget, we haven't even talked about when the PSL bill comes due, because the number of people who sign up for it are spread out over a wide swath around the world. You think plucking down $100 is one thing, but $4,000, it's quite another. And then I remind you again, the economy is projected to go south. Now, and Richard Hike says Las Vegas has more people. Yes, the Las Vegas metropolitan area does not. Right. Rick Gray says, I'm being facetious. Gotcha. Wiggle Baby says, metro population medium markets come into play. Let me show Stacy what, you know, how the lay of the land works in the San Francisco Bay Area, okay? So that she can understand where Oakland is. And, you know, in understanding where Oakland lay in the Bay Area, not make that mistake again, okay? This is where Oakland is. I'm gonna take you on a ride. If you want to ride. Well, anyway. Remember that song? Anyway, let me get this cord out of the way, and I can switch it like that. There, all right? All right, what do you see is Oakland. There's Oakland. Let's look at other versions of maps so you can get a better picture. That one just shows San Francisco, which I think is agonizing. But let's show images. This is better. And this is better. Right here. Okay? And voila. What's at the center of it? Oakland. There's San Francisco. All right. San Jose is at the bottom. Contra Costa. Oakland is at the geographic center of the Bay Area. So you cannot compare Oakland to Las Vegas. And anybody who compares Oakland to Las Vegas does not understand what they're talking about. And I don't mean to be insulting. I'm just being honest. Okay? Take another look here. Let's take another look of this larger map. See that? There is Oakland at the center of the Bay Area. Okay? When I was working on bringing the Super Bowl to Oakland, the Raiders play there, all right? We had to find 70,000, top quality hotel rooms within an hour's drive of the stadium. You're looking at it, the Bay Area. At that time, 55,000 were in San Francisco alone right here, okay? Just across the bay. This is San Jose. This is Silicon Valley. This is the tech center of the world right here. Oakland is at the center of all this. You cannot compare Las Vegas to this. Understand, Stacy? You cannot compare Las Vegas to that. I'm going to repeat. You cannot compare Las Vegas to that. So people, anybody who did that in an NFL owners meeting, and Stacy, are you Mark Bedane? If you actually did that in an NFL owners meeting, and you showed that to the owners who, you know, in some cases, don't geographically know enough to be able to question that, then you were fooling them. If I were in the room, I'd have laughed at you. I will say this. I love Mark Bourdain, but if I were in the room when Bourdain made the kind of argument that I heard that he presented, and I was allowed to speak, I would have been able to very simply diminish his argument to zero value. There is no way that you can prove that Las Vegas, in any way, shape, or form, is more valuable than the Bay Area. None. Okay? None. Riddle me this. Which region has a near $1 trillion company in terms of value? Las Vegas, Nevada? San Francisco Bay Area. I'll give you a hint. Have you ever taken a bite of the apple? Ever heard of the Apple iPhone 8 Plus, which I happen to be using to make this live stream? You get the picture? Apple. 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 Wiggle Baby says Bay Area is massive. That it can support 2 teams easily. In another 20 years, it could be 3. Actually, Wiggle Babies, I argue it could be right now. Okay? Rick Gray says average Vegas Raider ticket for Oakland Nation. Travel, hotel, PSL, season ticket cost, average weekend to see Raiders, $750 to $1,500 a game. Whew. Hennessy, how you doing? Rick Gray says, how many Raider Nation can afford that? Exactly. Baller says, hey, Zinni, first of all, I appreciate you for the energy you have traveling coast to coast without being tired. Thank you. but I'm glad I'm pulling off that impression. Anyway, but did the Raiders, he asks, Baller does, but did the Raiders have an Oakland strong of ghost ship fires on their helmets like Vegas? I don't understand that question. Rephrase it. Silver May says, totally in map class. Today in map class. You get it. Wiggle Baby says, just wait till Cali has a high-speed rail system up and running. Holy blank. Yep. And Thomas Beltran is here. And Beltran says, tell him, Z, I get tired of that. Thank you. Richard Hike says, oh, by the way, folks, like I say, hey, this is a cup of coffee night for Zinni. If for those of you who think I'm tired and need a cup of coffee, I would very much appreciate it if you would buy me one. It's cup of coffee night for Zinni, double shares night, coffee night for Zinni. Now, Richard Hike says, I wish the Bay Area would get off their butts and make a real push to host the Summer Olympics. And, you know, I'll get right back to that. John Mark says, Zinni, show Stacy Reed the map of Vegas, and I did do that. And I haven't heard from Stacy Reed, okay? See, Macy says, plus Sacramento and contrast Contra Costa area go to the Raider games. And let's not forget Stockton and Fresno, right? What, 2-hour drive? Whew. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And Jose says he's drinking coffee now. Great. Well, you know, count me in. I got water. Steve Macy says costs will be way more because of football weekends. You will have to stay at least 2 nights, if not 3. Baller says, I meant Raiders have a Vegas Strong logo on their helmets, but no Oakland Strong for the Ghost Ship fire victims. That's an excellent point. The Raiders have, that's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. And they did contribute $23,000 to that, but you're absolutely right. And yeah, Silver May says, Falcons laugh out loud. Yeah, not good showing. Joseph Binsman says, hey, Zinni, another wild sports weekend. My Yankees had a great season despite the loss to the Astros. They did have a fantastic season. They really did. But here's the problem with being the Yankees, that when you get that far, you're expected to go all the way. It's like that line in American Pie. You don't just score, you score. And 831 Scott, thank you. I will drink a ton of coffee with that, Mr. Scott. Thank you very much. Mr. Scott comes through with a huge investment. Thank you very much. I will drink a lot of coffee. Thank you. Yes, I will. And a lot. I'm needing it. And so, but yeah, Richard Hike says, I wonder, he said, we wouldn't have to do much. We have 2 major stadiums, 2 major college stadiums, several smaller colleges, 4 world-class arenas, lots of great water, mountains and trails, and great cycling. Yes, fantastic cycling. Karen Christensen says that stadium sellout of Las Vegas would be iffy due to the transient population they have and the low wages they make. Yeah, completely. And then let's consider the media market size there. Yeah, many times smaller than the Bay Area. Why would the NFL give that up at a time when ratings are declining and cord cutting is happening? So you don't want to go into an area that's smaller with the idea that it's going to grow back into something you enjoy in the Bay Area. And no, okay, not at all. So excuse me. Wiggle Baby says Bay Area is 6th largest media market. Las Vegas is 46th, I believe. I think it's 40th. Big April says, Mr. Zinni, are you serious? The Raiders are taking a new lease, talking new lease until 2022. Yes, they are. I can't wait to see people's faces when this Vegas deal blows up. Richard Hike says the 49ers can't get people to drive 30 miles down the road. And Steve Macy says, off to bed, night all, remember one nation and one love. Word. Hennessy says, hey, Zenny, have you ever heard anything on the Raiders in Mexico game? Are they still going to play in Mexico? You know, oh, gosh. I got so focused on the NFL protest, I forgot to ask that the league me. There wasn't space. I mean, I don't know how many people saw my coverage of the league meeting, but Stacy Reed says, I was hoping for LA New York World Series. Wiggle Baby says they need some sort of sunscreen roof thing for that new stadium. South Bay sun is real. Yes. And Silver May says, Amerson. Richard Hike says, I looked it up. The game is going on as planned in Mexico. Yeah, I didn't hear. I was thinking the flip side of it, Richard, which is I didn't hear anyone say it wasn't going to happen. You know, so I pretty much figured it was going to happen. Joseph Bensman says, yeah, I definitely thought my Yankees are good enough to get one in Houston, but sometimes you just have to tip your cap. The Astros of Orlando was awesome. No one expected the Yanks to make the playoffs. Great season. It was a great season, and it was fun to be in New York at Harry's Diner on Gold Street. You know, Italian diner. If you're ever there, check it out. Great food, man. Great food. Watching the Yankees game. Rick Rice, you are the man. You are the man. You are the man. So, and we've got Carrillo. Hey, Anthony Carrillo. Wait a minute. Anthony Carrillo just got a new job. He is an offensive coordinator for a semi-pro football team, right, Anthony? Isn't that right? Used to call him the Carrillo Cannon out of the Eastern Seaboard area up there in New York. Tell us about your new job, because I saw on Instagram. I congratulated you. And Anthony Carrillo is a man who is actually, if you check him out, go to Zinni62 here and type Carrillo, and you'll see his videos about, you know, pontificating about different topics in sports and pop culture, or used to. Now he's a offensive coordinator. I think he had, what, 2,000 yards, 4,000 yard offense or something like that. Now he's going shy on me. He's not saying anything. All right. You gonna be that way, man? Dude, come on. Rick Rice said, StubHub Center was halfway empty. They were more orange than blue. Oh, terrible. They should have stayed in San Diego. Raiders about to make the same mistake. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. Joshua Agee says, my phone is bugging. And so, okay. And we've got, I think I've got all those comments to date regarding that. And, yeah. Anyway, the supposed groundbreaking was November 13th. We've got Joseph Binsman says, the World Series, that is the World Series. I thought it would, although, well, let me reread this from Mr. Binsman. And I quote, this is the World Series I thought it would be. Although I wish the Astros hadn't come and done it at my Yankees' expense, laugh out loud. No sore feelings against the Astros. They were better, rooting for them. I wanted a Dodgers, Yankees World Series, you know? LA, New York, right? New York, LA. That's what I wanted. By the way, if you ever go to New York, I'm highly recommending that you stay at this hotel, for which I am pulling a plug. This is not a compensated plug at all. And let me show you this. But I do have to pull in a plug for the Four Seasons. The Four Points. This is where my exhaustion is showing, folks. The 4 Points by Sheraton. 4 Points. Right, 4 Points. Sheraton, New York, Zetty 62. So you can see what I'm talking about here. Hey, rooms for $130. But okay, I've actually made 2 videos. 4 Points by Sheraton. Let me show you my room with a view in New York. Sorry I missed you, Carrillo Cannon. We gotta get together, me and Rick Saratella. But I want you to see this is my room. I'm gonna enlarge this, and so you can see this was my room there. All right, pretty cool, huh? Look at that. It's you know, smallish by West Coast standards. That was me getting ready for the NFL owners meeting there. All right, but yeah, but nice nonetheless. Coffee, twin beds, you know, bathroom. I just taken a shower. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool. This is the kind of, look, Rick Rice, this is the kind of hotel room that Joe Flacco would love. Joe Flacco is the Baltimore Ravens quarterback. And, I mean, I'm serious, Rick Rice, okay? Now, Corvette says maybe Josh Reddick can get a ring. That would be some nice development. But if you're ever in New York, 6 Platt in Lower Manhattan, 6 Platt Street. That's 6 Platt Street. You gotta check out that hotel. Hey, it's only walking distance to Freedom Tower and the World Trade Center and the 9/11 Memorial. You gotta check it out. I cannot say enough for how great my stay was, and how you could walk to the drugstore was just over here, about a short block. Harry's Diner was just out the plaza and around the corner. I mean, Wall Street's right there. You're in Wall Street. It was fantastic, fantastic. Rick Rice says Joe Flacco only stays at elite hotels because he's an elite quarterback. In that case, he would love the elite hotel I stayed at. And Silver Mays informs us that Falcons got destroyed. Yeah, but Alex is called the 4 Points by Sheraton. 4 Points by Sheraton. Yeah, and Richard's staying at the Wyndham. Ooh, that's a nice one. 4 Points. What you going there in business? By Sheraton. And it's New York. And it's on 6 Platt Street. There, okay? Now, Rick Rice, we shouldn't fire Ken Norton Jr. So there you go. Corvette says, sorry, thought you were going to sneak me into that one. You didn't. So, okay, now, Corvette says, Joseph Binsman says, excuse me, many were worried about the Patriots presumably prematurely again. Can people pause the worry to January since my Giants won't be there? I'm worried the Pats will win another Super Bowl. It's starting to look like that. Well, you know what? Hold everything. Let's just see how this shakes out. Let's see what the Raiders do against the Bills. Richard Hike says, I'm going for Thanksgiving, staying for the Raiders-Giants game. Ah, okay. He's there you go. Eat at 21. 831 Scott says, Zenny, I saw your stream on Belgian killing the A Stadium project. Well, possibly. Why would anyone want to do that? Do the city leaders in Oakland want to lose every team in the city? I'm saying that a Bell could fool around and decide in the best interest of the city and to save, I'm putting a Bell's hat on, I'm not saying I agree with it, and to save people he would believe were threatened in terms of being displaced, he could take that direction. What I did with that video blog post was sound a warning. I did not say that this was going to be what Councilman McGeehan was going to do. But what I was talking about with Stephen Tavares, who is a East-based citizen, is that a Bell has a tendency to waffle. I mean, are you foreign or again? In other words, that's a Bum Phillips term. Bum Phillips was the coach of the Houston Oilers. He would say, are you either foreign or against them? Are you for or against? Where do you stand? And Bell has a tendency to do this middle of the road stuff, which infuriates some folks. So you have to call him out and say, hey man, this is the logical outcome for one particular course of action. Your words would seem to point to that you're doing, killing this project. Is that what you're actually going to do? If you don't want to do that, it means you're for the project. What are you prepared to do to help the Athletics make it happen? Okay. And I know Bell's going to be mad when he sees us. He hasn't already, but you know. Wiggle Baby says, the new ballpark at Lake Merritt will be good. I prefer the waterfront location at Howard Terminal, but it will do. Plus, it's kind of near downtown. It's what the town needs. Did I get that? Yeah. And so, Silver May says, the secondary is awful talking about the Raiders, and the coaching hasn't been good either. Well, the pass rush. Rick Rice says, will the Raiders make the playoffs, Zinni? I'm going to go out on a limb and say yes. Excuse me. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to go out on a limb and say yes. The Oakland Raiders will shock the world and make the playoffs as a wild card. There you are. So there you go. Yeah. John Bark says, I'll stay at the 4 Points when I come to New York for my potential NFL deal for my radio station. Okay. Why don't you just stay there anyway? Richard Hike says, going to try to hustle up some photography work while I'm at it. Okay. And like I said, Richard, hey, man, love to compensate you for how you help. And, you know, just saying, it's out there. Silver May says, who cares about the A's? They can leave the Raiders. They can leave the Raiders just be staying. I want everybody. I want the A's. I want the Raiders. I want the Warriors. The Warriors are trying to punk the city. They ought to be punished in court. No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. And now, Wiggle Baby says the Raiders can only afford to use 1, maybe 2 games to be able to clinch. Let me check that. Rick Gray says, what does the JPA's Friday decision do for your friend's suit against the team? I'm glad you asked. That's something I want you to and I'll go back and review that. Richard Hike says, I'm just throwing out numbers. And let me do that. Let me go out. Let's go back and do the painful. Oh, by the way, it's double shares night, folks. You can join and invest as 831 Scott has done. Now, it's double shares night. Let me go back and pull up the video from that day. I'm not going to play the whole thing, just that part about the decision, okay? So that you can, because I want to point it, because I want to show you something, all right, that I think is very important to realize, and as we talk about this, okay? And the painful, the outcome was painful, but it was to be expected. It sadly was. But I want to show you this. Here it is. Here it is. Bear with me, folks, because I'm getting this to come into play. And I want to make sure that I've lined up where it should start. And make the, there goes the commercial. Don't want to delete the commercial because, hey, you know, that's money in my pocket. But I want you to hear this, okay? And I want you to really I want you to hear this. All right. Look at this, folks. Come with me under the sea. Ding. This is from the JPA meeting. Listen carefully. All right, I want you to listen to this carefully.
Report by the closed session. I'd like to go back to item 6B. It says Commissioner Malcolm is here. Commissioner Malcolm, can we have your vote on 6B? Is it affirmative? Affirmative. So she said she voted yes. On item 6B, dealing with the capital fund. Okay, so item 6C, the discussion of and potential direction on the Forever Oakland matter.
So this item is a discussion of potential direction on the Forever Oakland initiative to retain the Oakland Raiders in the Oakland Independent County.
I'm going to fast forward a little bit just so you're not. Let me get to the point.
Potential liability, financial liability.
Listen to this.
This matter.
That's anybody else have any comments?
Mr. Chairman, I do have to report that the council was given strong
Listen to this, folks. Listen to this, okay?
direction by our agency that we cannot pursue and would not pursue this matter given the high potential and upside risk related to the financial things. The analysis provided by the attorneys that was provided by the attorneys of this proposal that were provided to our agency revealed significant upside potential liability, financial liability for the city and the agency.
All right, I'm stopping right there. And that, folks, indicates a gigantic problem that Godfather Grizz and Ray Bobbitt should be aware of. And the problem is that there was one understanding with respect to there was one understanding with respect to what Ray Bobbitt thought and Godfather Grizz, but note the comment. The attorneys that Ray Bobbitt paid for gave the city and the county information that allowed the city an out, where the city said, hey, your attorneys identified a huge risk. All right? That's the problem. And I don't think Ray Bobbitt got that at the time, because listen to what he said. I want you to hear this. Listen to what he said. And I'm going to go back and bring this up. But I want you to listen to what he said. Hold on a second. Listen to what he said. This is critical. This is a critical identification of a misunderstanding between the attorneys for Forever Oakland and Forever Oakland with respect to Ray and Godfather Grizz, all right? So I want you to hear this. I'm going back to get it and where I was. Hold on a second. Delete that part. That's a commercial. I like that Grammarly music. All right, now let me go back to where I was, because I want you to hear. You heard what Lynette said. Oakland District 3 Councilmember, my councilmember, Lynette Gibson-McElhaney. You heard what she said, right? All right, now I want you to hear Ray Bobbitt. This is Mr. Bobbitt in the next, just a few minutes later as he steps to the podium, okay? So, whoops, doggone it. Hold on a second, folks. Just made a bit of a positioning error that I can correct right now. And am going to do that right there. It's one of those situations where you didn't mean to hit, you know, that particular button, but you hit it and now it's back. All right, so let me enlarge this. Stay with me here because this is critical. Bring you down for you so you can see this and hear this, all right? This is critical.
That we will not pursue what is being asked of us to do. And so I would hope that we would take a vote now, today, and give staff directions of not pursuing what is being asked of us to pursue.
Microphone.
The county wish, be it in our official role as a council, when we sit at the...
All I want to just be certain of, that is accurate or adequate.
I'm going to go back and forth, but I will allow you.
Phase and many other issues, and the potential of this facility. These facilities are, whatever happens.
Listen to this.
We are charged with making sure that this facility is prosperous. Today, next year, or the following years. So whatever action we take, gotta be based on that. You know, in the best interest of the city and the county and the people who work in this facility. So follow the city's position, and I believe that we gotta make a decision today.
So we're hearing the city's position. Right?
Well, we, as a member of the JPA, we are the city of Oakland. And so we speak for the city of Oakland, be it in our official role as a council, when we sit at the council, or whether we sit here with our partners, the county, as a member of this Joint Powers Authority. And so we have a process in place that our council can, in fact, direct us how to vote on certain issues. And this is an issue that our council has clearly made it known to us. Mr. Gallo, who's left the room, but was in that meeting, know what was directed to us by
Sure.
our council.
We're not going to go back and forth, but I will allow you to speak for 3 minutes, and if wants to speak for 3 minutes, but we're not going to have a back and forth dialogue.
So my only question is that if this board and if the city and if the county can get an assurance in the way of a trust and an indemnification that there would be no financial liability to public funds and to the public if this issue was pursued, that should change the perspective, because we don't believe that the information that you have is accurate or adequate. You have an analysis of what it could, what it could cost, but what you are missing is the financial component that is separate and apart from public funds that will fund the process. There are private entities that are willing to fund the process. So all I want to just be certain of, that if it is an issue of financial risk to the city, that we are, and the reason why we didn't want to see an actionable vote on this is because we've come to this body multiple times and asked for information. We've asked for our attorneys to be contacted by a city attorney, by county council. We've asked for multiple circumstances in which we wanted to know if this body had standing. We were told multiple times that there was no conclusion to that. No fault of our own. We went out and we raised the money ourselves for the initial retainer. We created a nonprofit entity. We hired the attorneys. We did the assessment. We did the exploration at zero cost to any municipal body. My only request is that this body not take action until you can get a proper analysis with proper and correct information as it relates to the costs associated with this. The other thing that I request is that since the county hasn't taken any action, and that we would ask that this body wait until after we provided the county with the proper analysis and the proper financial information. Finally, this is too big of a public item to have it done in closed session without public comment and public interest. We have worked really hard not to allow for this fan base to act negatively towards these decisions. We've been very professional, we've been courteous, we've been completely respectful. We could have been celebrating and we could have been upset in the streets, signs. We didn't do that. We didn't do what people expected this fan base to do. Because a lot of people from this community care about this community, and we don't want to be a microcosm of what people see us as. We want to maintain professional football at this site. We want to maintain the opportunity to create jobs through professional sports at this site, because entry-level positions are what people in this community qualify for. And if transportation opportunities are here set up for people to come from out of town to work here, it is not going to require an opportunity for people in this area who can walk to work here to succeed. That's all I have to say. But all I'm asking for, we've come to you multiple times and you didn't have the answers. You set us back 3 times. So we're just asking this body to delay that until we can give you the proper analysis.
I think the clerk has time, please time the speakers for 3 minutes. And
I would hope that we would take a vote today, Mr. Chairman.
okay. Yes. 3 minutes, please.
I will take one. Basically, to echo Ray's sentiments, we want this body to give us the opportunity to get proper analysis through the county before you guys make any judgment, because this item is way too big for the community. Our recipe will serve the municipalities and all the public. Will serve everybody. It's a regional, it's bigger than Oakland. So since we're bringing it to you folks, all we ask is we're getting more analysis, we're going to continue to get more details, and we want the opportunity for the majority who will be behind us 100% that will serve municipalities and the general public. That's what we ask. That's what we came here today. Thank you.
Commissioner Allen.
I certainly appreciate the passion forever Oakland has brought to this discussion. And I think it's also important that this body make decisions based on the information that we've been provided at the time. And Mr. Chairman, I would certainly be open to entertaining a future motion if there's additional information provided. Based on the conversations with your attorneys and what has been provided to the public entities to date, I would hope that we would take a definitive decision so that the fans know and understand where we are. The county has not undertaken this, and based on the analysis that's been provided, it doesn't need to be all 3, it could be any one of the 3. And so the decision that we make today does not any way preclude Forever Oakland from pursuing and providing the information to the county, putting the county in a position to come back to the JPA if that should be something that they feel has a greater likelihood of success. But I think it is important that we make a decision based on what we were asked to analyze, and it has been several months. And the information that has been provided over the summer to now would indicate consistency with the analysis that the city attorney has provided to the city council. And I don't see any change in that position within the next 2 weeks. And we would want to exercise the vote the way that it has been given to us for this particular meeting. And that I would second Mr. Reed's motion on this, that we are not to pursue this litigation at this time.
So I'm hearing this. Commissioner Reed made a motion?
Yes.
And the motion is?
Not to pursue what is being asked for us to pursue as relates to what the proposal about Forever Oakland. The city is not going to put up any public money, whether it's now or whether it's in the future.
And so there's a motion made by Commissioner Reed, seconded by Commissioner Allen. Any additional discussion on the motion? Well, once again, I'd like to say the county has heard this matter in closed session a number of weeks ago. We had not taken a position one way or the other just yet. And I want to try to give deference to the fans and delay any decision on here at the JPA until we can have all the information and the fans can continue to do all their necessary work associated with this initiative to show its viability. So I'm gonna oppose the motion for now.
All right. Can we just ask for?
Is there any? If there's no other comments, we'll have to take the vote. Any? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I oppose.
I oppose.
So there's no abstention, so there's 4 ayes and 2 opposed. So the motion carries. The JPA is not taking a position on this.
Thank you, Mr. Gaines.
Are there other items for today?
So we are.
All right, I showed that at length for this reason, because within that revealed, as I said, a disconnect, a misunderstanding. And the misunderstanding is this. And Ray Bobbitt was under the impression, primarily by his words, that the city was told it would have to pay public money, okay? And that's not at all what the issue was. The issue is, and this came from the attorneys for Forever Oakland. Yeah, and that came from the idea that if a lawsuit were lost, and even if the JPA were a friend of the court, a party to the lawsuit, you know, signing on saying we're a friend of this, we're not putting money into it, they would still, if there was a loss, they would possibly have to pay millions of dollars beyond what they could afford to pay. That was the issue. Ray Bobbitt took that to mean, well, we're going to have to pay the legal fees for this. And that's not what they were saying. They're talking about damages, not legal fees. So Ray says, hey, you know, can we get a document that will indemnify you? That's not what Ray wants to do. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in potential damages, all right, that could be levied. You don't want to be stuck with that, okay? So that's why I'm saying there was a conversational disconnect there and a misunderstanding of what the attorneys meant. So Forever Oakland needs to get with Eric and Steve and work out the issue of miscommunication, because I really believe that, just from what I heard, they didn't understand, talking about Ray Bobbitt in particular, they didn't understand what Lynette Gibson, McElhaney, and Larry Reed were talking about. And also Lynette, and in particular, were quoting what they believed was the message from Ray's own paid-for attorneys. That is an enormous disconnect. And so I went back over that because you asked about the decision and how it affects us going forward. And I said it before and I'll say it again. Forever Oakland can file its own lawsuit, period. Will the lawsuit be effective? Depends on how it's structured. There's no reason why it couldn't be. And I've said before what I'm about to say. Anyone can sue anybody for anything, period. It doesn't mean that'll work. However, given the way the Raiders pursue their business, their style, there's an opening as to whether or not Forever Oakland wants to take it. They say they are going to take it, and so move forward. All right, so that's where that lay. Now, after the camera was off, what Lynette Gibson McElhaney said to one of the Forever Oakland people, and I should have kept, I should have kept my camera on kind of nearby, but that's, not a cool thing to do. But she did say, I don't know that you can sue someone that you're negotiating with. And then De La Fuente and Chris Dobbins and others says, look, we're negotiating to keep the Raiders here through 2022. It wasn't up to, it wasn't maybe, it wasn't conditional, it was a lease extension to 2022. It's being negotiated. It's not done. But I've said here, and I'll say again, that it doesn't make sense to try to sue someone if you're negotiating with them from the JPA's perspective. Now, you can have dual paths. Good cop, JPA, does its negotiation. The bad cop, Forever Oakland, pursues the lawsuit. And I think that's the best strategy to have. But the two should be talking. What the JPA wants is a firewall. I get that. I'm not saying I agree with it. I get it. But to me, you only take the action they took if you know you're going to succeed in retaining the Raiders, and there's a possibility beyond 50% of building a new stadium for them. If you know that, then you pull that trigger. Then you take the action they took. But if you don't know that, then you don't take that action. If you say, hey, we're not sure and all this, then you know what? You figure out some kind of way to support Forever Oakland. If you want to look like a good cop and on the one hand do X, then take that. But the minute the proceedings are over, you call Forever Oakland, you work out something behind the scenes. That's what the JPA should do. All right, now. So anyway, back to football. You guys are talking about Bruce Irvin and having a lively chat here, so I'm going to catch up with it. Rick Rice says that, and quite correct, the Raiders drafted nothing but defense. And Kevin KD said the Chiefs have been dynamite on the fourth quarter of this season. Good job on the Raiders' defense keeping them from scoring. And Silvermane says, I thought they didn't draft enough defense. They just thought Mack and Irvin were enough. And I think Rick Rice was responding and saying, haha, I hope you're being sarcastic. Was that to what Silvermane said? And Rick Rice points out quite correctly that with the Raiders, we got Navarro Bowman for the perfect time. Stacey Reed says the NFL is going to countersue them. Is that the problem? Stacey, that's a good question. It's not the NFL will countersue. It's the loss damage that would incur if they lost in court. So let's say they lose to the NFL/Oakland Raiders, and as a remedy, the Raiders say, we want attorney's fees plus $100 million. And they push for that, and the judge says, yes. So suddenly you've got, on top of the bond issue obligations of around, what, $70 million with respect to the Raiders, you've got that, and then you've got $100 million in legal damages you have to pay that are court sanctioned. That's what they were afraid of. That's what they were afraid of, okay? So, and I get that. And I get that. But my whole point is that, and what makes me uncomfortable about the decision is previous leadership in Oakland went forward and sued the Raiders and lost. But we never faced that kind of damage possibility. So again, I understand their reason, but I don't agree with it because I think it's, a remote outcome at best. But as you heard Lynette Gibson McElhaney say, it came from the Forever Oakland attorneys. All right? That's the problem. I mean, what can you say? It came from it came from their attorneys. So you can't go anywhere. You can't sugarcoat how that looks. And that looks bad. It came from their attorneys, pure and simple. And so it not only did it not only did it come from their attorneys, and it come from excuse me, and not only they come from the attorneys, it came directly from, excuse me for a second, I'm trying to find something here. It's not coming up, but here we go. I'm just double checking some information here to make sure that I'm accurate in my reporting, and I believe I am. Yeah. So at any rate, between Eric and Mr. Quinn, James Quinn, they're the ones that put out the information that the city wound up using against Forever Oakland. So then we have to ask, did Forever Oakland get that analysis? Did their attorneys share that with them? And if the attorneys did they, in terms of Ray and Grizz, understand the gravity of what was being brought to them? They never gave me a chance to look at it. They were, okay, so, yeah, they wanted, I wasn't involved. So there you go. There's the answer to your question, Ms. Reed. So let me continue. And Stacy Reed says, I hear the focus is on marketing now, no longer interested in keeping the team now. And I don't understand when you say you heard that, because I don't, on Forever Oakland's part, because I haven't heard that. But I will say something that I remarked at the opening of this live stream that I'll repeat. The Raiders in the city are not in a position where they can openly state that they're working to retain the team because of the Raiders' obligations in Las Vegas right now, primarily political, particularly after Vegas Strong. So that's where that is. However, the Raiders have wanted to stay through 2022 at least. And I've recited again and again and again the economic deal structure problems with the Vegas proposal. That's where it is. So, Silver Maze says, Urban Rushes the passer has done nothing. And 831 Scott says, the problem with blitzing is it opens up passing lanes, especially against the quarterbacks that have a quick release. I think it's all in how you blitz. If you zone blitz, you can block those passing lanes by backing your defensive up in, for example, up to the hook area, right, where the slant would normally go. And Corvette says, but blitz gives them less time to throw. What they're doing now is not working anyways. I agree. You want to be disruptive. LX9933, how are you? LX asked the question, why aren't you involved, Zinni? You're familiar with Oakland officials and their dealings. Valuable knowledge left them on the deck circle. Well, I'll just candidly say, you know, they wanted to do things their way. And, I mean, I was involved, but let me be clear. I was involved from a social media standpoint, and they asked me a great deal of advice, okay? And I warned everybody. I warned Jim Quinn, Eric, the whole of how the JPA tends to find information you put out, or any information, and they'll use it to support a decision that it's already made up its mind and wants to take, all right? Now, it just so happened that in this instance, the information they used happened to be from Forever Oakland's attorneys, from Jim and Eric, all right? But did we have a sit-down or a briefing? Nope, we didn't. And, you know, I'll be candid, that was their thing, and in a number of different occasions, they made that clear, and that's fine. Okay, I've got my own stuff. I've got my own work to do. I've got my own company to build, and I am really interested in finding any way, not one way, to retain the Raiders. And I believe the best way is multi-pronged. I think part of it is getting out the information about how bad the deal is. The other part of it is having a plan to keep the Raiders here for a new stadium that is also a new hotel complex, a new convention center complex, not just a stadium, and an office complex, something that really is Coliseum City, Newtown, in town. Something like LA Live, something like that, okay? That really is what I believe we need to focus on. Oakland lacks that kind of development. And we don't pay attention enough to having balanced development. It's like all housing. We used to have balanced development plans in Oakland, but we don't act like we care about that. But I digress. So that's my point. My point is, hey, look, you know what? Just because the NFL made this decision, it's conditional. Don't give up. Go balls out, make it happen. So, all right. As Rick Rice says, all problems solved, right? But Rick Rice is wrong about the coaching thing because Rick Rice, the Raiders have already hired a coach, right? I mean, you are aware of that, right? The Raiders have a new coach, right? Are you aware of that? So Silver May says, who's their best corner? I have no idea. That's why they don't really have that corner. Well, their best corner right now, I don't think it's a matter of the Amundsen maybe, but I think the problem basically is pass rush, and it's the way we talked about pads too high much of the time. Now Rick Rice says our best corner is Emerson, and see Rick put best, and that's why I was hesitant to answer that. And John Mark says Oakland needs an Oakland Live sports bar. Silver May says Norton makes excuses. But look, again, Rick Rice and others, you didn't answer my question. Are you aware that Oakland just hired a new coach? Hello? Hello? Are you all aware of that? 831 Scott says, I still say the Raiders secondary is okay, and I agree with him. If they had a better pass rush, it would change everything. Ding! Again, I ask the flock, are you aware that the Raiders have hired a new defensive coach? Are you aware of that? Are you aware, and no, keep Norton. Are you aware that the Raiders have hired a new defensive coach? All right? As Richard says, they did. Who'd they get? Drumroll, please. His name is Navarro Bowman. That's right, Navarro Bowman is the man. Navarro Bowman, yes, Navarro Bowman is a coach on the field. He is that person that calls the middle line, calls the the signals for the defense, gets everybody in position, studies, can recognize where plays are going in their formation, and will provide a significant upgrade to the Raiders that will also impact how they play in terms of formation structure. You watch. You watch. All right? And no, Kevin KD, I do not mean John Pagano. I mean Navarro Bowman. Navarro Bowman is a coach on the field. Okay? He is a coach on the field. I mean, he knows what the Raiders are doing. They're comfortable letting him have the control. Navarro Bowman is a much-needed addition. You have no idea the degree to which the Raiders' defenses have been improved by the addition of that man, all right? Okay? None, okay? So Corvette says, yeah, true, get them in position. And Silver May says, Pagano can make Melson or Smith faster. I'm not talking about Pagano. I'm talking about the Bowman. Bowman himself is the man. 831 Scott says, when you ask a corner safety to cover a receiver too long, they ultimately get burned. Pass rush will eliminate that. Yes. 831 Corvette says, look at Niners without him. Lost by 30. Yeah. Whoo, boy. It's 1:39, folks. I am going to go to bed. And so Rick Rice says that does not erase the fact that Norton stinks in his opinion. In my opinion, Rick Rice is wrong. So there we go. That's, there you go. Really wrong. So anyway, what's Rick Rice going to do when the Raiders come roaring back? Roaring back. Yes, Bowman. Rick Rice admits it. Bowman is king. King. All right. Where's John Marks when you need him to remind us about how great horror movies are? Karen Christensen says, Lee could also learn and benefit from Bowman. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, like I said, where's John Marks to close us out with a comment about horror movies? John Marks instead says, bet your last money it's all going to be a stone gas, honey. But that's not what I was looking for. Crawford says love, peace, and soul. Superman says Norton and his vanilla defense, which was going to change. Richard Hike says would still love to see some corners. I understand. Pass rush. And Rick Rice says Bowman is king. Norton is priceless, or is a princess. All right. John Mark says what I'm looking for. Watch horror films. Keep America strong. To which I report, I've watched Wonder Woman 5 times now. 5 times. And is Flacco still elite? Hey, I think that's not the question. The question is, are the Jaguars for real? And I think the answer is quite yes. Yes. Good night, everybody. See you tomorrow. I will be on. I can't say. I don't know what's going on with Forever Oakland, Godfather Grizz. I would love to do a show again. You know, but, you know, they're all upset about everything, and what can I say? I really believe that this is not the time to retrench. It's the time to regroup and come back within, you know, a day. Everything's fine. You move forward. That's it. Because, look, I told them that was going to happen. I expected it. When I sat there, I thought, you know, you can tell. I tell their body language. And Larry was just ready to get it done and move on. And he fought through that. Nate wasn't. There's a possibility with the county, but who knows? I wouldn't trust that right at this point. They are trying to retain the Raiders. They're trying to get something done behind the scenes. I get that. I get that. Good night, everybody. And Adrian Scott says, the Bills are for real, so the Raiders better bring their A again. You can say that again. The Buccaneers had no business losing to the Bills, though. That was the Bucs defense. Ooh. Good night, everybody. Good night, Karen. Good night, Rick Rice. Good night, everybody. Good night. See ya. Thank you. Oh, and by the way, how do you like the sound? This is my new phone. I don't think I've had a full... I don't believe I had a full... I didn't have a full live stream. Last time I did this on Sunday, I had the older phone. Now I've got this phone. What do you think? It is an iPhone 8 Plus. Right? I don't have to have the microphone here. What do you think? Better sound. Yeah, better sound, right? Better sound. And looks... Rick Rice says looks and sounds exactly the same. Actually, it does not. Because the last time we had a sound problem. There's no sound problem here. 831 Scott gives a thumbs up, as well as a gigantic investment. Thank you. Kevin KD says incredibly clear sound. Yes, and John Mark says, yes, I agree with the sound. Thank you. And hey, the picture looks good too. It's, you know, it really does. And Richard High says it's strong. Yeah, got it. Yeah. I like this. Corvette says it sounds good. And Richard Hike says, yeah, Rick Rice says it. Yeah, Richard is right. Rick Rice hates everything. 831 Scott says, way better sound. Joseph Bensman says, definitely sounds good now. Thank you. And Rick Rice, no, there's no microphone. Oh, I see, Rick, you thought it was a microphone. Okay, yeah, no, there's no microphone. I still have it. And I can use it outside, you know, for wind and that sort of thing. But nope, no microphone. This is worlds better than what I had. I went from a 6 Plus to an 8 Plus. Yeah. So now Rick Rice says, okay, oh, sound is much better. Good. Justin says sounds crisp. Corvette says picture's the same. I think the picture's better myself. And like if I turn around this way, this is 4K, right? See that? That's the 4K camera, but even the rear camera, right? Even the rear camera is better, all right? So, I mean, I see a definite difference, pixel difference, okay? And clarity, brightness. I like it. All right, everybody. Rick Rice says, I'm used to hearing you with a microphone. Yeah, me too. I was so, you know, accustomed to using it. I was like, where's the microphone? But I don't need to use the microphone anymore. And Rick Rice says the picture looks lighter. Yeah, it is. It really does. Rick Rice says he hates Ken. And John Mark says, how much does an iPhone 8 run? The retail I didn't pay. I had an upgrade coming, so I only paid $200, and I have they can work with you on a financing plan, so I've got that, which stretches it out. But they have a way of sort of relaxing that financing plan if you want to upgrade again. It's pretty cool, you know? So you wind up spending very little upfront money, And then of the money that you spend in the back end, you can actually roll that over into a new phone, and that's essentially what I just did. All right. So otherwise I couldn't afford it. So, you know, this really worked out incredibly well at a time when I really needed to upgrade. And what I love is that in the past I've kind of went, you know, tried the cheap route and said, okay, well, I'm just going to do this because I can afford that. But this is the cornerstone of my business, and people use iPhones to make feature-length films now. I'm not kidding you. In fact, John Marks, you and I should talk about doing a segment on that, about horror movies and making them with, you know, alternative devices like iPhone 8s and iPhones and so on. But I digress. My point is that I wanted to use the best technology to present to you rather than always having these issues. I did that. So there we go. All right. You got it. See you guys. I am now officially really exhausted. Good night. Good night. See ya. See you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Hey, how you like that? Listen to how I did that. Remember the Batman? Hey, same bat time, same bat channel. I think I'm going to have some fun with that one. Take care. You the man, Rick Rice. You the man. You the man. Oh, 831 Scott says, I posted live videos of the Warriors opening night game on my YouTube channel. That was a crazy game. Okay, cool. I think that's is that a copyright thing, 831 Scott, when you do that? You had live videos. Were you there? I'll take a look. What's your YouTube channel? Is it 831 Scott? I'll check it out. I'll check it out. Because a lot of people doing the live video and the feed thing, and I'm going to check with YouTube about my ability to do that. Because if I can get clearance to do that or get a whitelist, then I will love to have more NFL, stuff here. So, oh, you were there. Then, hey, there you go. Let's check out what 831 Scott has. I'll go and I'll like it and I'll bring it over this way. But not tonight. I'm getting some sleep. All right. Good night, everybody. I'll see ya.